Everyone tells you to trust family with everything. I did that for 42 years. Then one night, my son forgot to hang up the phone. What I heard in those next 60 seconds made my blood run cold. By the time he realized his mistake, I had already made a decision that would destroy him. My name is Robert Hayes, and I'm 68 years old. The night my son tried to destroy me, I was eating leftover meatloaf at my kitchen table, alone, like always, since Ellen passed 2 years ago. The phone rang just as I scraped the last bite from my plate. I smiled when I saw the caller ID. Michael, my only child, the boy I'd sacrificed everything for. "Dad, how are you holding up?" His voice was warm, caring, everything a good son should be. I settled into Ellen's old chair, the leather worn smooth from her evening reading. "You know me, son. Just finished dinner, about to watch the news." I didn't mention the meatloaf was 3 days old, or that I'd been staring at Ellen's photo for an hour, remembering when she used to fill this house with life. "Are you eating enough?" Michael asked. "Sarah's been worried about you." Something in my chest tightened. My daughter-in-law, worried about me. How sweet. "I'm fine," I said. "Had a little scare yesterday, though. Forgot to lock the front door when I went to bed. Woke up and it was wide open." The pause on the other end was brief. Too brief. "Dad, maybe we should talk about getting someone to check on you more regularly." I changed the subject fast. "How's the business trip? You're in Phoenix, right?" "Yeah, conference ends tomorrow. Listen, Dad, I should probably get going. Sarah and I have dinner plans." "Of course. I love you, son." "Love you too, Dad. Take care of yourself." I heard a click, then rustling. He must have dropped the phone in his pocket, I thought, reaching to hang up. But then I heard voices, muffled but clear enough. "Michael, you see how he's deteriorating?" That was Sarah, my daughter-in-law, but her voice was different now, cold, sharp. "He left the door unlocked. What if someone broke in?" My hand froze on the receiver. "It's time for a nursing home." Michael's voice, my son's voice, matter of fact, clinical. "He's becoming a burden, Sarah. We both know it." The air left my lungs. "The house is worth at least $750,000 now," Sarah continued. "With Denver's market, probably more. We could finally pay off your business debts and buy that property in Boulder we've been looking at." "Exactly." Michael sounded pleased, excited even. "We sell it, put him somewhere decent, not too expensive, and finally get out from under all this debt." Sarah laughed, actually laughed. "God, Michael, you should have seen him just now. So grateful just to hear from you. He has no idea we're planning this. The longer we wait, the more confused he'll get. We should strike while he still trusts us completely." The phone slipped from my hand. It clattered on the hardwood floor Ellen and I had installed together 23 years ago, every board laid by my own hands. I sat in the sudden silence of my empty house, staring at Ellen's photograph on the end table. Her eyes seemed to bore into mine with an expression I couldn't quite read. The grandfather clock in the hallway ticked steadily. Outside, the first spring crickets began their evening song in the garden Ellen had planted, and I still tended. Something cold and hard settled in my chest, replacing the warmth I'd felt hearing my son's voice just moments before. They thought I was a burden. They thought I was confused, helpless, ready to be managed and discarded. They were already spending my money, already planning their new life built on my grave. But I wasn't dead yet, and I wasn't nearly as confused as they believed. I don't know how long I sat there in the dark, Ellen's face watching me from that silver frame. The house felt different now, like the walls themselves had heard my son's betrayal and were holding their breath. When I finally stood, my legs felt unsteady. I turned on the lamp. The warm light fell across the living room we'd furnished piece by piece, each item chosen with care, each one saved for with sacrifice. The burgundy sofa where Michael used to curl up doing homework, the coffee table I'd built in the garage while he played at my feet. I walked to the kitchen and opened the drawer where I kept old papers and receipts, 20 years of financial records. Ellen always said, "You never know when you might need them." She was right about everything. University of Colorado tuition receipts, $48,000 over 4 years. I remembered those double shifts, coming home with concrete dust in my hair and plaster under my fingernails. Ellen would have coffee waiting, would massage my shoulders while I paid bills at this very table. "Roy, you're working yourself to death," she'd said one night. "He deserves better than we had, Ellen. He's smart enough for anything." Ellen had kissed the top of my head. "Just don't give him so much that he forgets to be grateful." I should have listened. The business loan paperwork was there too. $65,000 I'd co-signed when Michael started his property development company 5 years ago. "It's a sure thing, Dad. I'll pay you back within 2 years." 5 years later, I'd never seen a penny. Credit card bailout receipts, $15,000 when Michael's business hit rough patches. "Just until things stabilize, Dad." Word count checkpoint, 1,000 words approximately. The bank statements from 18 months ago after Sarah lost her marketing job. They'd moved in temporarily. I'd never charged them rent, never asked them to contribute to utilities or groceries. Michael would pat my shoulder and say, "You're the most generous man in Colorado, Dad." Sarah would hug me and say, "We'll pay you back when we get on our feet." They'd been on their feet for over a year now, both working, both making more money than I ever had. But they'd never mentioned moving out, never mentioned paying me back. I climbed the stairs to the bedroom Ellen and I had shared for 27 years. Her jewelry box sat on the dresser, her reading glasses folded beside the lamp, everything exactly as she'd left it. I opened the bottom drawer and pulled out our house deed. Robert and Ellen Hayes purchased 1999. No liens, no complications. My name only now that Ellen was gone. I built this house with my own hands, every board, every nail, every custom detail that made it ours. Standing there surrounded by everything Ellen and I had created together, I felt something shift inside me. The hurt was still there, sharp as broken glass. But underneath it, something harder was forming. They wanted to put me away and sell my life's work. They thought I was too old, too confused, too grateful for their attention to fight back. I looked at Ellen's photo on the nightstand, remembering her voice from all those years ago. "Don't give him so much that he forgets to be grateful." Well, Ellen, our son had definitely forgotten, but he was about to remember that his old man wasn't as helpless as he thought. I walked to my home office and pulled out the business card I'd kept in my desk drawer for 3 years. Thomas Brennan, real estate attorney. Ellen had insisted we meet with him after her cancer diagnosis, just to make sure our affairs were in order. It was time for another consultation. But first, I needed to see what Michael had really been up to. I spent the next hour going through Michael's old room. The room I'd painted yellow when he was 10 because he said it looked like sunshine. The room where I'd helped him with algebra homework at the desk I'd built to fit perfectly under the window. In the back of his closet, behind boxes of old textbooks, I found a folder I'd never seen before. My hands shook as I opened it. Loan application forms, 6 of them, all with my signature at the bottom, except I'd never signed them. My signature, forged, over and over again. Applications for home equity loans totaling $120,000. All rejected, thank God, because the banks had called me to verify, and I'd told them I never applied for any loans. I'd thought it was identity theft at the time. Some stranger trying to steal from me. But it wasn't a stranger. It was my son. Tucked between the applications was a printed email thread from Sarah to Michael, dated 8 months ago. "You were supposed to get power of attorney first, you idiot. Now the banks are suspicious. We need a different approach. Maybe if he's in a nursing home, confused and dependent on us, we can get control of his assets legally." My vision blurred. My chest felt like someone was standing on it. They weren't waiting for me to decline naturally. They'd been actively stealing from me for months. And when that failed, they decided to warehouse me so they could drain me legally. Current count, 2,000 words, 3,000 remaining. I sat on Michael's old bed, the one I'd assembled from IKEA when he was 7, the mattress where I'd read him bedtime stories every night for years, where I'd sat during his teenage heartbreaks, listening, offering what wisdom I could. Have you ever given someone everything only to discover they saw you as nothing more than an ATM machine with a pulse? I looked around at the walls covered in Michael's childhood memories, his baseball trophies, his graduation photos, the scholarship certificate I'd been so proud of, until I learned later he'd lied about the amount to pocket the difference between what I gave him and what the scholarship actually covered. The signs had been there all along. I'd just loved him too much to see them. I grabbed the folder with the forged documents and walked downstairs. Ellen's photo seemed to follow me with her eyes. At the kitchen table, I pulled out my phone and dialed Thomas Brennan's number. The edges of his business card were worn from 3 years of handling, but the number was still clear. Brennan Law Office. Mr. Brennan, this is Robert Hayes. We met 3 years ago about my wife's estate. I need to see you as soon as possible. Of course, Mr. Hayes. I remember you and Ellen. I'm sorry for your loss. When were you thinking? I looked at the forged documents spread across my kitchen table. At the house that was still mine, but wouldn't be for long if Michael had his way. Tomorrow morning. First thing. This can't wait. After I hung up, I sat in the sudden quiet of my kitchen, the magnitude of what I was about to do settling in my chest like a stone. But I thought about Ellen's warning, about Michael's cold voice calling me a burden, about Sarah's laugh as they planned to discard me. And I knew exactly what I had to do. The law offices of Brennan and Associates occupied the second floor of a brick building on Colfax Avenue. I arrived 15 minutes early, wearing my best charcoal suit, the one Ellen had bought me for her funeral. Thomas Brennan was younger than I remembered, maybe 55, with graying temples and patient eyes. His office was lined with law books and family photos, a wife, 2 teenagers, a golden retriever, the kind of normal life Ellen and I had tried to build. Mr. Hayes, good to see you again. Thomas poured coffee from a small machine in the corner. I remember you and Ellen. I'm truly sorry for your loss. Thank you. I accepted the coffee. My voice was steady, calm. I need to discuss something delicate about my son. Thomas settled behind his desk, pen ready. I'm listening. I told him everything, the phone call, the overheard conversation, their plans to sell my house and put me in a nursing home. Thomas's expression never changed, but I caught him shaking his head when I described their eagerness to spend my money. Then I showed him the forged loan applications. Thomas's jaw tightened. He studied each document carefully. Mr. Hayes, this is fraud. You could press charges against your son for this. I don't want him in prison. My voice cracked slightly. I just want him to understand that actions have consequences. Thomas leaned back in his chair. Let's start with the basics. The house is titled in your name only since your wife's passing, correct? That's right. Then, legally speaking, your son has absolutely no claim to your property. He cannot sell it, cannot force you into a care facility, cannot make any decisions about your assets without your explicit consent. Thomas pulled a legal pad from his drawer. The house belongs to you. Period. Relief flooded through me, followed immediately by something sharper, colder. So if I wanted to sell it myself, you could put it on the market tomorrow if you chose to. It's your property, your decision. Thomas looked up from his notes. May I ask why you're considering that option? I thought about Michael's laugh, about Sarah's cold calculation, about 27 years of sacrifice reduced to a real estate transaction. They think I'm helpless, confused. They think they can manage me like a piece of property. My hands clenched around the coffee cup. Maybe it's time I showed them exactly how sharp my mind really is. Thomas was quiet for a moment, studying my face. Denver's housing market is incredibly strong right now, especially in your neighborhood. Properties are selling within days, often for cash offers above asking price. He paused. If you were serious about selling quickly, before your son returns from his trip, how fast could it happen? How fast? With the right buyer, and there are plenty of investors looking for properties like yours, we could have a sale completed within 7 to 10 days. Current count, 3,000 words, 2,000 remaining, 7 to 10 days. Michael and Sarah would return from Phoenix in 6 days, expecting to find their grateful, manageable father ready to be shipped off. Let's do it, I said. Let's sell it before they even know I'm considering it. Thomas leaned forward. Mr. Hayes, I have to be honest with you. This is a major decision. Once you sell, there's no going back. You'll need somewhere to live. You'll need to figure out what to do with 27 years of belongings. This isn't something to rush into out of anger. I built that house with my own hands, Mr. Brennan. Every board, every nail, every custom detail. I set down my coffee cup. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm not acting out of anger. I'm acting out of clarity. We spent the next hour discussing practicalities, market value estimates, cash buyer networks, legal requirements. Thomas explained he could have everything prepared within 24 hours if I was serious about proceeding. The consultation fee is $200, Thomas said as I prepared to leave. If you decide to move forward, that applies toward my legal fees for the sale. I paid in cash, feeling more clear-headed than I had in 2 years. Walking to my truck in the spring sunshine, I felt my phone buzz in my pocket. Michael's name appeared on the screen. For the first time since his betrayal, I smiled. I let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. Let him wonder why his grateful old father wasn't jumping to answer. Let him and Sarah make their plans. Let them calculate their future, built on my destruction. They were in for the surprise of their lives. By the time I reached my driveway, confidence had replaced the tremor in my hands. I was unlocking my front door when the phone rang again. Through the window, I could see it buzzing against the kitchen counter. Michael's name glowed on the screen. I poured myself a glass of water, took a deep breath, picked up on the 6th ring. "Dad, there you are." Michael's voice sparkled with artificial enthusiasm. "I was starting to worry when you didn't answer earlier. Sorry, son, I was out running errands." I kept my tone warm, grandfatherly. "How's Phoenix treating you?" "Oh, you know how these conferences are. But listen, I have wonderful news. Sarah and I have been planning something very special for you." My jaw clenched. "Oh?" "We want to treat you to a vacation. You deserve some rest after everything you've been through since Mom died." His voice carried practiced sympathy. "There's this beautiful place we found. It's like a resort, but with medical staff on hand, just in case you need anything." A resort with medical staff. The nursing home they discussed, gift-wrapped in lies. "That sounds lovely, son. You really didn't need to go to such trouble." "Nonsense, your family." Jeremy's voice came through in the background. He must have been listening on speakerphone. "We've already made all the arrangements." "When were you thinking?" "Well, we should be back by Friday. We were hoping you could be ready by then. Just pack some clothes and personal items. You know, the essentials." The essentials. Not the photo albums Ellen had lovingly arranged, not the furniture I'd built, just the essentials for an old man being shuffled off to die. "Actually, Michael, I have a surprise for you too when you get back." "Oh, Dad, what kind of surprise?" He sounded genuinely pleased, probably imagining I'd signed papers, made their job easier. I walked to the bay window I'd built for Ellen, looking out at the garden she'd planted, the porch swing where we'd spent countless evenings planning our future. "It's something I've been working on since our last conversation. I think you'll be very surprised." "You're so sweet, Dad. We'll talk about everything when we get home. Get some rest and we'll take care of everything else." Sweet. He called me sweet while planning to steal my life. "I will, son. I love you." "Love you too, Dad. See you Friday." The line went dead. I set the phone down with hands steadier than they'd been in weeks. Then I opened my laptop and typed, "Real Estate Agents Denver." The search results filled my screen like ammunition. One name kept appearing. Brian Sullivan, 43 years old, specialized in quick sales. Averaged 12 days from listing to closing. His photos showed a professional smile and confident eyes. His testimonials were exactly what I needed. Brian sold our house in 6 days. Cash buyer lined up within 48 hours. I dialed his number with steady fingers. "Sullivan Real Estate," Brian speaking. "Mr. Sullivan, my name is Robert Hayes. I'm interested in selling my house quickly. Very quickly." "Well, Mr. Hayes, that depends on several factors. But with the right property and pricing strategy, I've closed deals in as little as 7 days with cash buyers. What kind of timeline are you looking at?" 7 days. I need it done in 7 days. Brian's voice sharpened with interest. "Can you tell me about your house?" 2-story, 3,400 square feet, built in 1999, Cherry Creek area. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. I've maintained it well. Did most of the work myself. That sounds exactly like what several of my investors are looking for. Original owner, well-maintained, established neighborhood. Would you be interested in a property assessment? How quickly can you come? I can be there this afternoon, say 3 o'clock. I glanced at the clock, just past noon. 3 o'clock works perfectly. After I hung up, I sat in the sudden quiet. the magnitude of what I'd set in motion beginning to settle in my chest. In 3 hours, a stranger would walk through the house Ellen and I had built together, assigning dollar values to our memories. Current count, 4,000 words, 1,000 remaining. At exactly 3 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Brian Sullivan looked exactly like his photo, professional but approachable, early 40s, confident bearing. The moment he stepped inside, his eyes went wide. "Wow," he stopped in my entryway. "Mr. Hayes, this is exactly what I was hoping for." I watched him take in the details, the crown molding, the hardwood floors, the seamless flow from living room to dining room that I'd achieved by removing a load-bearing wall and installing a custom beam. "You weren't kidding about maintaining this place." He pulled out his tablet. "These hardwood floors? Original?" "Installed them myself in 2001. Ellen wanted something that would last, so we went with 3/4-inch solid oak." Brian was photographing everything. The custom kitchen cabinets, the granite countertops with gold veining that Ellen said reminded her of sunlight, the bay window I'd built for her reading nook. "Mr. Hayes, I need to be honest with you. In my 15 years doing this, I rarely see properties maintained to this standard. I'm an engineer. Was an engineer. I believe in building things right the first time." Brian pulled up listings on his tablet. "Similar properties in this area have been selling for $700,000 to $800,000. But given the condition and custom features, I'm thinking we price it at $780,000. That should move it quickly while getting you top dollar." $780,000, more than Michael and Sarah had estimated. "I actually have an investment group that's been looking for exactly this type of property," Brian continued. "They pay cash. No financing contingencies. They can close in 7 business days." "What's the catch?" "No catch. Cash means no loan delays. They do their own inspections, but frankly, your house is in better shape than most new construction I see." I looked around the living room where Michael had taken his first steps, where Ellen and I had hosted Christmas mornings and quiet Sunday afternoons. "Let's do it." Brian's professional mask slipped for just a moment. "Excellent choice, Mr. Hayes. Let me call them right now." I watched him dial, heard him describe my property with genuine enthusiasm. He ended the call with a broad smile. "They want to move forward immediately. I can have the initial contracts ready by tomorrow morning." The sun was setting through Ellen's bay window, casting golden light across the room where I'd just agreed to sell 27 years of my life. But for the first time since that devastating phone call, I felt something I'd lost. Control. "9 a.m. tomorrow," I said. "I'll be ready." Brian arrived the next morning with contracts, a notary, and coffee. I read every line with the thoroughness that had made me a good engineer. Sale price, $780,000, cash purchase, closing date, 7 business days from signing. The notary walked me through each signature. "You can remain in the house for 30 days after closing if needed. Most sellers prefer to move out sooner," Brian added, "just for peace of mind." Peace of mind. I almost laughed. The only peace I'd have would come from seeing Michael's face when he discovered what his burden had done. I signed my name with steady hands. The next days passed in controlled chaos, title search, inspections. The investors sent their team. They admired my workmanship and found nothing wrong. I researched apartments online, found a place in Highlands, a senior community with a golf course and community center. The kind of place Ellen and I had sometimes talked about. I called storage facilities, planned which of Ellen's things I'd keep, her china, her jewelry box, the photo albums, the essentials of a life lived together. Current count, 4,500 words, 500 remaining, prepare to conclude. Closing day arrived. The title company office was all professional efficiency. The buyers were represented by their attorney. Brian handled everything like a conductor. "Mr. Hayes, if you'll sign here and here." Each signature felt like cutting a chain. "And this is your wire transfer confirmation. $780,000 has been deposited to your account." I stared at the numbers. More money than I'd ever seen. More money than Michael had dreamed his burden could access. I drove to my new apartment. 1 bedroom, furnished, simple but comfortable. I carried in my suitcase and immediately reached for my phone. The final phase required one more call. AAA Emergency Locksmith, this is Eddie. I need all my door locks changed today. It's urgent. 2 hours later, Eddie installed new locks on every door. Silver instead of brass, modern instead of traditional, 3 copies of each key. I paid $450 cash, no paper trail. Then I set up the surveillance camera, a tiny device disguised as a phone charger, positioned by the front door. Perfect view of anyone entering. I wrote the note in my careful handwriting. Michael, if you're reading this, my plan worked. I heard your conversation about warehousing me. The house has been sold for $780,000, money you'll never see. I also found the forged loan documents. You weren't just planning to abandon me, you were already stealing from me. Your belongings are in storage at Denver Moving, 415 Colfax. You have 30 days before fees begin. I gave you everything. You repaid me with fraud and betrayal. I hope this lesson costs you more than money. Dad. I taped it to the inside of the front door at eye level. Standing in my living room one final time, I touched the mantel where Ellen's photo had sat for 23 years. It's done, sweetheart, I whispered. Justice served. I locked the house with my new key, tested the camera feed from my car. Michael and Sarah would return tomorrow. Friday arrived. I sat in my apartment chair with my phone, watching the empty doorway through the camera feed. 4:30 p.m. A black SUV pulled into the driveway, Michael's car. My heart hammered as Caitlin stepped out first, stretching. Michael emerged from the driver's side, pulling suitcases from the back. They moved with casual confidence, coming home to claim their inheritance. Caitlin approached the door, fished keys from her purse, inserted the key. It didn't turn. She frowned, tried again, jiggled the key with growing frustration. That's weird, my key's not working. Michael stepped closer. Let me try the back door. I watched him disappear. When he returned, his face had darkened. Back door's locked too. The garage remote isn't working. His voice carried panic now. Caitlin, someone changed these locks. What? That's impossible. Dad doesn't even know any locksmiths. Michael studied the door. These are brand new locks. This isn't an accident. Caitlin pulled out her phone. I'm calling Dad. She dialed my old landline, the number I'd disconnected. After several rings, her face crumpled. No answer. It's not even going to voicemail. Try his cell. He doesn't have one, remember? Michael was examining windows. There, that one's unlocked. I can boost you up. I watched my son climb through the kitchen window I'd deliberately left unlatched. She disappeared inside. Moments later, the front door opened. Michael entered with suitcases. Both stopped dead when they saw the white envelope, taped to the door. Caitlin's hand trembled as she pulled it down. Her eyes moved across my words. Michael reading over her shoulder. Their faces changed. Confusion, shock, disbelief, horror. He sold the house. Caitlin's voice rose to a shriek. How could he do this to us? Michael snatched the note. Read it again like the words might change. That manipulative old bastard, he was playing us the whole time. $780,000. Caitlin was crying. He kept it all. That money was supposed to be our future. Your future? Michael snapped. This is your father, Caitlin. You should have handled this better. My fault? You're the one who said he was becoming a burden. Well, he was a burden. Look what he's done to us. We're homeless. Our lease expires next week. Just then, Michael's phone rang. He answered. His face went white. What do you mean investigating? His voice shook. The loan application, but he listened. Each second his expression grew more horrified. They found proof of forgery. He hung up, looked at Caitlin. He knew. He knew everything, and he let me think I was getting away with it. They stood in my living room, fighting, blaming each other, revealing their desperation. Michael's company was failing, deep in debt. Call him, Sarah demanded. Fix this. Michael tried my old number, disconnected. I watched them leave through the camera, then powered off my phone. The next day, Michael found my new apartment complex. He stood in the lobby, but I refused to see him. His voicemail came later, desperate. Dad, please, I'm sorry. We made a mistake. I need help. I owe dangerous people money. If you don't help me, I don't know what they'll do. I listened, but didn't respond. A week later, I ran into Michael's former business partner at my coffee shop. Michael's company went bankrupt, he said casually. Sarah left him. He's living in a motel. He paused. He kept saying, "My dad will help me," right up until the end. I felt doubt then. Ellen's photo seemed to judge me, but I remembered his laugh on that phone call, his cold calculation of my worth. Had I done the right thing? Or had I become as cruel as them? 3 months passed. I settled into my new life. Morning coffee at the local cafe, friends at the senior center, weekly card games. Then a letter arrived from Michael, not asking for money, apologizing. "I don't expect forgiveness, but you taught me about consequences. I'm working 2 jobs now, staying in a friend's basement, learning to build something from nothing like you did. Maybe someday I'll understand what you were trying to teach me." I didn't respond, but I kept the letter. That Sunday, I drove to Ellen's grave, placed flowers on the headstone. "You were right, Ellen. Sometimes the hardest love is letting them fall. I gave him everything, and it made him weak. Maybe losing everything will make him strong." I walked back to my car, saw a young father playing with his son in the park nearby. I smiled, sad but genuine, understanding that both mercy and consequences can be forms of love. I'd built my life once from nothing. I'd just done it again. And this time, I'd built it for myself alone. If you believe parents deserve respect, not to be called burdens and thrown away for money, hit that subscribe button. Only entitled, ungrateful people like Michael and Sarah scroll past without supporting this channel. Comment, "Family isn't an ATM," if you can't stand adult children who forge their parents' signatures and plan to warehouse them in nursing homes just to steal their life's work. And hit like if you believe sacrifice should be honored, not repaid with betrayal. Because the people who gave everything to raise us deserve dignity in their final years, not to be treated like obstacles to an inheritance. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments, and I hope you're safe wherever you are.